I would like to say thank you everyone for joining us, and of course how exciting it is to see new opportunity, right, coming in and bringing claims to the forefront of driving business. I feel like that is something that a lot of carriers are looking for is, I don't want to just cut the check, right? I want to find an opportunity to bring that forward and recover. So with that, let me start, and thank you for joining us for looking at how can we learn from legacy to adjust and get ready for the future. With that, I would like to start by my panelists introducing themselves and sharing a little bit of what role transformation played in your career. So Nick, I'll start with you.
Good afternoon. My name's Nick Gerhardt, Executive Vice President, Homesteaders Life. My background's in property casualty, life, health, annuity. I was an insurance commissioner by accident for a little while too. So I still have the brain damage from that experience, but in all seriousness, pretty much everywhere I've worked, you start with, hey, you can always make it a little bit better. And whether it was the state, which needed a lot more work even than a lot of insurance companies, but certainly I've taken that experience into life insurance and other companies as well. And it's just really an interesting experience because the average person that's never worked in an insurance company really has no idea how most companies have grown through acquisition, all the disparate systems, whether it's claims or every company I've worked in has the same problem. And so coming up with the right architecture and strategy to streamline that and then use it to grow your business and make it more efficient, that's been kind of a passion of mine.
Hi, this is Sovin Srivastav, CTO and co-founder of Benikiva. Glad to be here, guys.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yogesh Bansal. I'm a partner at Infosys Consulting, and I lead our insurance consulting practice. And for over more than 2 decades, I've been advising the CXOs and their teams in how to modernize and how to transform the different parts of the insurance value chain. So very happy to be part of it, and we'll share some of the insights and perspectives from our own experiences.
Well, thank you. I'll take a little bit and introduce myself. So as Bobby mentioned, my name is Evelina Mroczek. I work for Lincoln Financial. I currently lead annuity product and market research team, but my journey with transformation is really looking at bringing in data and transforming how we actually do R&D and analyzing competitors and really look forward to product development. So with that, let's get started. So I wanted to first focus on the element of legacy. Right? Legacy is something we talk about, maybe a little bit of a forbidden word or the not cool world, but I would like to look at legacy as an opportunity to learn. So in your experience, how have you seen legacy, understanding legacy enabling transformation? And maybe I'll start with you, Nick.
So again, my background's in 2 or 3 other companies with homesteaders, and so my wife jokes I can't hold a job very long. But in all seriousness, I've seen this in every company I've worked in, and we're very proud of the systems you have in these companies, and sometimes you let the systems and the process actually even trump your actual job you want to do as an employee or your mission as a company. And so, when I look at it and say, what are the problems you're trying to solve? And you kind of start small, and you try to work into the solution then. So Homesteader, we talked earlier, we started in claims, and now we're in all sorts of our workflows. And it's really interesting because it actually allows you to actually roll out new products. We have other products we're going to be rolling out in the future. We wouldn't have been able to do any of this really with some confidence at least had we not taken those steps. So, if you're going to sit there and just do what you did yesterday and not try to move your systems forward, that's a real problem. And I do think most of us as carriers have the same issue. We have great technology from 20 years ago or maybe longer, depending on what company you're at. And it was great, and it still works. And so, again, you start to weigh that. Do you want to go for a whole transformation and try to replace something? Or do you want to work with vendors and partners out there that will help you take what you have and give that customer the experience they want, help you grow, be more efficient? I can tell you firsthand, when you look at companies that have gone into full conversions, some of them have not gone very well. And the customer experiences have been horrific. When I was commissioner, we had one company that couldn't pay claims, couldn't credit interest for months. So imagine being a customer in that situation, getting a bill for $40,000 to come up good on your premium payments, right? Most people don't have that just sitting there. So how you do this really matters as much as when you try to do it. So you have to have a good strategy on how you're going to do it.
Right, well, that, I'll look at you, Sylvan. From the startup's perspective, how are you learning and leveraging legacy in your world?
So from a startup perspective, I think for us, the legacy systems out there is one thing that is a big inspiration for us. Like, we are constantly looking at that and saying, like, if I were to teleport myself 5 years from now and look back and see, like, what's one thing that I can prevent today, if I don't start something today, like, with the legacy, with the, all these resources that's been aligned, that's goes into the systems, functioning, keeping the lights on and all of that, from the startup, we have to bring that, one of those solutions that's going to work slowly and methodically, like, getting it out there and solving that issue. So when I look at it 5 years from now, and okay, we didn't have that pain. The process was all smooth. It worked out very well. And if we don't do anything, or if we just keep looking at that as a source of inspirations and don't act on it, then it's surely, once we lose that human capital and all of that is gone, then it will be hard to sustain. Like, it will be really expensive. Now you don't know whatever revenue that you're generating from that will be gone, just like that.
And Yogesh, in your world, obviously you had a chance to work and see different companies dealing with that. And how have they leveraged understanding the legacy and kind of defining their roadmap? Because what I'm hearing here clearly is that we can learn from the past what's not working to help kind of create the road to the future. And so how have you seen that?
So, see, I mean, I'll take the example of, let's say, claims, since this conference is all about claims. So if you really look at claims, there are 5 key pillars. Number 1 is the beneficiary experience. The second is the operational efficiencies. Third is the tech modernization. Fourth is, asset retention. And last is the generational loyalty. So when it comes to learning from legacy, what we have always advised and worked with our customers is, first of all, let's define the North Star. Because unless you don't define that North Star, it will be very difficult to understand, what do you want to learn from the legacy? And learning from legacy also involves, what is the magnitude and the complexity of the problem that you're trying to solve. So case in point, as you all know, processes are very manual in nature. And many times when we go and study the processes, the people in the operations, they're not able to tell exactly what is the set of problems, but we have used the tools like, let's say, process mining, so which has uncovered very insightful information as to what are the different variations in which, let's say, a claim is getting processed. Where is majority of the time is getting spent, which, no documentation and no human can tell. So that's a way to learn, and then we are able to pinpoint as to exactly which processes and sub-processes needs to be modernized. So just one example. Going in the technology side, insurance companies have mainframes as an example, but really they have, gone to a point where knowledge is depleting as people are retiring, and there are tools that, out there that we have used for our customers to really understand the map of, it's like a jungle, So what's in there, how things connects with each other, and really map it to the core pillars as to what we are trying to solve, and which are the things to keep, and which are the things to eliminate, and so on and so forth. So again, my single important message is, first define the North Star, and in the context of that, then decide, what is it that you really want to learn out of the legacy. I mean, another example is not all the calls that comes to, call center needs to be eliminated, particularly in the claims process. There are certain calls which are very, very important, because at that point in time, the customer is looking for guidance. They're looking for that empathetic, attitude and guidance. And I think those are the kind of things to keep. But all the other calls, let's say, which is related to knowing the status and all those kind of things, that can be automated, that can be, made, that can be delivered in a self-service manner. So that's the perspective on, from
Well, thank
from
you.
my
So the way I'm hearing it is learning and understanding the history and the legacy, it can really become a really an effective way of identifying the pain points and helping to build out the roadmap, right? Where do you start? What are the pain points? What can you move forward with? But you mentioned the word jungle, and that kind of brings me forward to the other portion of dealing with building the future yet shedding the legacy is, what do you see as the biggest challenges that carriers face when they are embarking on this journey? And Nick, I'll start with you.
Well, again, it's understanding the problem you're trying to solve and also recognizing that the core systems and legacy systems you have probably work. And so then we step back and say, well, what are we trying to fix? And then solving that problem. So for instance, when you look at a functioning system, and we're on LifePro and it works pretty well. It doesn't have all the functionality, but we're also a few series behind on our update on it. So you have to step back and say, well, what are we trying to solve here? And in our space, we realized right away, if we weren't strong on that claim payment right away at that moment of truth, really nothing else mattered. So again, I think it's all about starting at that first pain point and then building the capacity, the muscle to do it, the fact that you're going to have executives are going to have to push their teams. But in our experience, once they realize what we're trying to do and why we're doing it, most of the teams want to come along. They don't want to be a hindrance. They want to push forward to help those customers and distribution partners. And then when they see the bigger goal, one of the things we've gotten a little bit better at is pushing our overall strategy down into the company and not just having that strategy sit at the executive level. So I would recommend that too, not just your digital strategy, but your entire corporate strategy that you're trying to help the customer. And so when we look at our global strategy, making sure that every team member understands what we're really trying to do, and then you can go in and dissect these separate problems more on a one-off basis. But again, I think it's so hard because the legacy systems work, and we evaluated doing a whole scrap and replace, and we lean much more in partnerships with folks like Benekiva and others to really bring us forward for our customer, but really even for our distribution partners. And now we see claims as really being one of our major competitive advantages. So it's been great.
Got any thoughts on the challenges you encountered from the startup's perspective working with the incumbent?
Yeah, from the startup perspective, we want carrier to think or use us as a, we bring our one vision to the table. We bring hey, here is the claims, this is how it needs to be, this is how you need to be. But then we want also the carrier to bring their incumbents or their workforce to work with us, to work with the startup, to say that, as a team, as one team, to say, here is our vision, here is the problems that we have faced in the workplace or in the claims, and how you're going to solve that. So we want them to challenge us. As a startup, we want that. We don't see that challenge as more like a hindrance or anything like that. We see that as an opportunity, and we definitely want to convert those and bring. It really helps us. Where Benekiva is today, it would not have been possible without our, claims examiners or the beneficiaries or, the people who are using our system day to day. If they were not to challenge us, hey, we have this slew of problems out there that, how you manage to do that with Benekiva. You talk about this claim transformation and you do this, all these legacy problems but here is the problem. Here's the burning problem that we have. Where is your fire extinguisher, or how you're going to solve it? So that's what we really look forward with working with our carrier partners is don't get threatened by, when you are trying to get, Benekiva or any startup, to say hey, your workforce will be eliminated, or you're going to replace your headcounts bill or anything like that. You take it as a challenge to come up with a team. That's what we really look for.
Can I jump in real quick? This is the second company I've been at where we've either helped partner with someone to build a claims or even a bigger core system. And I think what Sullivan's talking about is really important. It has to be that partnership, because working with a startup as a carrier is a lot different. They're not going to have all the things they need now. Benekiva is SOC 2 compliant, but most founders don't even wear socks, right? So you know, when you start and you talk to some of these founders about your processes and how you do things, most of these startups are not going to be speaking that same language. So having a team and somebody that can really lead it for the carrier side, and you can just have open and frank conversations, and sometimes, at least in Iowa, we're all Iowa nice, so it's kind of hard sometimes to do that. But when you partner with a startup, you just have to be ready for a little different language. They're going to go at a little bit different speed than most of us in the carrier side. And that's good because it does push our teams to go better. But I do think it's important to have that team so that you can have those really frank conversations. Otherwise, I think your likelihood of success goes down a lot.
And I'll build on that, and Yogesh, I'll kind of turn your way on that one. But I think one of the things that you're probably running into is the resistance, right, of those within, right? Those within that have done a job a certain way, that have a system that works. How are you handling the components? How do you envision bringing the components of overcoming the resistance from those that did that job for a while, right? And how can someone coming in tell me what to do? How do you overcome that challenge?
So I think the number one is the purpose and the vision needs to be very, very clear to the people who are undergoing that change, and very clearly and upfront telling them what's in it for us. So for example, if there are claims processor, telling them the story of how easy it will be their life going forward, and what are the kind of interactions that they're going to be more focused on, and this is what this is all about. So that's very, very important. The second element is, making the middle management kind of be the carrier of that particular change. And, and I think as things progress as part of the transformation, the continuous communication and telling them about success stories through the people who have undergone that change, whether it is on the carrier side or whether it is on the distribution side, is equally important. So those are the kind of things that we have seen being very successful when it comes to change management.
I like you mentioning the middle management, right? We have folks on the top setting the strategy, those in the trenches, in a way executing on the strategy, and the middle management are the ones that are driving the decisions, right? Which actions are we going to take or not, and kind of building the actual steps in between on delivering on that vision. So do you view the middle management in the companies as the gatekeepers of the transformations, these large types of transformations? And if so, if you're running against challenges against those, how do you overcome those?
Yeah. See, I think the middle management are the ones who manage all the operational levels at the end of the day, whether it is SLAs, whether it is, let's say, NPS scores, and so on and so forth. And they are the ones who knows the pulse of each and every process, and they are very close to not only the employees but also across the whole ecosystem. So they are the one who has the knowledge. They are the ones who has the core KPIs which eventually impact whether it is cost, revenue, risk, so on and so forth. And their role is very, very critical in this whole transformation.
So it's clear to understand that you really have to, those at the top really have to think about how do you best convey the message of what your vision is to those in the middle management that are looking to execute and deliver. But now I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit and maybe talk a little bit about the opportunities. A little bit earlier today, and I think overall, it's no surprise, right? The era of the Great Resignation. I think every industry, regardless if it's restaurants or insurance, especially the servicing claims, are dealing with the shortage of talent. Do you view transformation and investment in technology as an opportunity to gain and bring talent within? And if so, how?
Well, certainly for technology talent. Brent earlier, his comments are so true. If you take a young college superstar who's got some computer science background and you throw them into COBOL, first they won't even know how to spell it probably. So I think you do have to say, look, they want to work on emerging cool technologies because someone in their class is probably working at Apple or somewhere else. And so, yeah, you do have to have that, but to me it's much more than that. The workforce challenge really is looking at your entire job descriptions. Do you even need college degrees? We're moving into a much more progressive, hey, skills-based application process. Show us your portfolio of work and things of that nature, because we're finding a lot of talent in unusual spots, so to speak, and then we can groom them, we can put them into college courses, certificates, and other things. So we're going to go a little bit different direction because the talent war in Des Moines is really fierce. We have a lot of insurance companies up and down. I mean, there's 10 on my street, and we're not the biggest one, but we've got a great culture. And so we try to go after talent a little bit differently, like, do we really need all those job descriptions? But then when they get in there, we really want to put them on pretty cool projects with different partners that we can say, hey, you're going to go make a big difference, and you're going to be helping a company like a Ben Akiva and others really drive their solutions. And quite frankly, Brent talked about collaboration. We've got teammates that kind of help co-create some of this stuff with them, and that's a pretty amazing opportunity for a young professional to sit down and work with a startup on a brand new product. And we're willing to take a risk on that, but we love the fact that some of our young professionals have that opportunity.
And maybe building that a little bit on to those who are already in your teams, how is transformation and opening gateways of presenting new opportunities to those who are on your teams who have to be, I would say, retrained, redeployed?
Yeah, I think, I look at it from the startup perspective itself, like, where when we talk to carriers out there and when we talk about these talents, like, one of the things is like, you are not going to have, just on the legacy side itself, like, holding on to those and bringing new talents now, and once they get into the retirement age and once they retire, it will be hard to fulfill. We already know a couple of carriers out there who have, their HR has already told them that, these positions are unfillable. There's nobody. We're getting 0 resumes, 0 applications for these, just absolutely nobody out there. And now they are they're bringing those people back from retirement into the workforce again, so that's one problem that they have right now. The other problem is obviously with these newer generations, newer workforce, young professionals who are getting into workforce. And if you put them into those jobs, they're not going to last very long on those jobs. And that's so. The solution really is from the startup is like, okay, pick me type, right? Like, you're like, here are the startups, because probably you have to have some kind of an hybrid solutions out there to solve those issues, and slowly again, like, you're bringing those young professionals to work on these, as a challenge, and then from the incumbents, like, getting those opportunity, learning from them, and then putting them into workforce. At the same time, they have some opportunity to work with the newer technologies.
And Yogesh, and your thoughts on how can transformation enable talent?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, everybody is looking for, exciting work, and transformation efforts and projects give an opportunity to, kind of get the creative juices flowing. It challenges to come out of the, what I'll say, where people are very comfortable. And definitely the organizations need to invest in terms of the kind of skills that are required in the future. And a combination of these 3 things can be very exciting and can help to, get the same talent to support the various transformation and projects. As an example, within Infosys also, when we were on this agile journey, we made a complete shift. We developed our own platforms. We developed, competency-based, I would say, educational courses and whatnot. And over a period of time, we kind of prepared our workforce to support our clients. So, and it was a very positive and very, very exciting experience.
Now, the one thing that I've seen work successful, kind of tying back to transformation and talent, is really the delineation of roles and responsibilities, right? Because there's the element of still being able to maintain, we still have to pay claims, we still have to maintain the systems that we're paying out, that's not stopping, yet we, on the other side, are building and transforming. Do you see that as an effective way of bringing together and kind of differentiating where do you first start the transformation and how do you redefine the roles of the future? And Nick, I'll start with you.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you think about your talent, which is one of your most precious resources, you want to put them in the position to succeed. And we're not going to just all go work on the newest, cloud-based system, because we do have day jobs and we do have core systems and legacy systems that have to keep running the business. And we're not going to retire those. At least we're not going to retire those probably for a while, because just again the cost spend just isn't worth it. So our company and our team is a little bit smaller, so we don't have much of a. If you're on a team, you're working on pretty much everything. You're just lucky you're not the janitor that day sometimes. But in all seriousness, you do have to have that cross-training ability. One of the things we're challenging ourselves with is the ability to reskill and upskill certain positions. And we're partnering with Drake University right now, and I in Des Moines there, to have them come do special courses with some of their IT professors and helping, with college students. And we're pretty big proponents of some reverse mentoring where some of the college students are partnering with some of our teammates and doing that kind of thing. So we try to get a little bit more creative because we don't have the luxury, quite frankly, of large teams that get to do different things. So if you're in our IT team, you're doing a lot of different things in a day, but we do try to have that core functionality and say, look, if you want to work on, we're creating a new Salesforce-based CRM system. And we have a dedicated 3 or 4 people that are leading that, and with one leader, but they're still helping other areas of the company in their day job. It's not a full-time job. And so we find that they really like being stretched because they get to work on new things and different things. And if they have the opportunity to learn more, we get more out of them. And then they also come back to us. We had an employee just last week say, hey, I'd like to go learn more about this. And let's go find a certificate. Let's go find something that we could support you in your career journey. And people really do respond to that.
And you guess from your perspective, the separation of the responsibilities of the current system that you decide to maintain versus the new systems that you're onboarding, how do you see that as an effective way to lead transformation and adoption?
Yeah. So, see, I think involving the people who are, very much ingrained into the day-to-day operations, you got to pick up selectively because, there's a lot of thinking that is already done. Certain things are working. So tapping into that knowledge is very, very critical. But at the same time, intelligently building the support system, like in many of the transformation initiatives, we are partnering with our clients. So we learn from them initially, and then we kind of, support them in the various transformation effort. Is one way to balance the needs, on the time. So that has worked very, very well. The other things are, kind of taking their help in terms of creating either documentation, videos, and those kind of things, which then the broader team can use to help in the transformation. Also helps at the end of the day to balance the needs. Between the day-to-day work and the transformation efforts also.
Right, well, thank you. I know we're almost arriving at time, but I do wanted to kind of regroup a little bit. So we've talked about the legacy, right? The legacy can really be leveraged as a roadmap to help identify the point of entry and what decisions should be made, right? Because transformation is scary, usually comes with large price tags. We've also talked about talent, and I think in the majority of the transformation, that's one element that's always overlooked. We think about what's the technology, what we want to bring, what problem we want to solve, but we don't really think about those that are in the driver's seat, those that their roles are evolving, so we can't overlook that element. But in terms of the definition of, do you modernize within or do you bring from outside? I wanted to bring in and share a quote and kind of have your experience on it. So Albert Einstein once said, we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. So if you think about that quote and the discussion we had here, So do you think the approach to successful transformation is just modernizing the within or looking to the future?
No, not modernizing within. And we strongly believe that, we got to where we are. I love that quote. And so part of it is you're not going to transform very well from within. And you need, especially if you're an insurance company that's 100 years old, or you need somebody from the outside, quite frankly, to push you and your thinking. Like I said, Benekiva is just one of several projects. All of the major transformational projects, whether a communications platform we're building or CRM, they're all pushed by somebody from the outside. And I don't think we'd have any chance of success without somebody else pushing us. Now, we look at those as deep partnerships. They're not a vendor because, we want that team to be able to have very frank conversations with us, and so we can do that. But there's no way we could do it by ourselves inside.
So how about you, Selvin? Do you believe you can do it within?
Definitely not. I mean, for us, from a startup like, Lens, what we want to, like when we came out with Benekiva, we wanted to have a solution that actually works for, tier 1, tier 4, doesn't matter where, or one person processing the claims end to end, or several teams who are constantly involved in the workflow cycle. It does. So that's something like that. We looked at what's out there, what's the pain points, right? And then sometimes, like they can, like I was telling earlier, you can have one perspective on that and come up and build a solution around it, and then present to the carrier. But then there's also carrier, like they have that pain points with both of those discussions and collaborations and partnerships. We can come up with better solutions that works for everyone. But for a startup, it's actually we go a step further. We want to make sure we're not really in this phase of constantly building out, we're talking to this carrier A, let's go ahead and build a solution for carrier A. We want to take 2 steps back and make sure it's carrier A can change their mind anytime, and carrier B is out there who's already changed their mind, and carrier C is out there who's, if we put together this carrier A and B, maybe that's a solution that may work for carrier C. So we look at that and say, from a startup world, it needs to be super configurable, super, like Brent was saying earlier, we want to go into market, within 6 months, we want to get it deployed out in production and fully usable. That's something that's not done, and we take that pride, and that's only possible when we bring the,
Thank you. And Yogesh, so do you agree with Einstein or not? Would you like me to repeat the quote?
Yeah, so I don't think so there's any perfect answer. But I'll tell you the elements that needs to come from inside, like the deep business model and the outcomes that the carrier wants to achieve needs to come from inside. The knowledge of what has not worked well in the past has to come from the carrier. But at the same time, are there innovative solutions outside? Partners who can kind of tell the art of possible that a carrier can achieve, and the execution muscle, all that can come from outside in order to, really make the transformation successful.
So one really quick point, I would say, in my experience at a couple different companies, by not pushing yourselves to the outside, if you go into digital transformation especially, you're probably going to digitize a bad process. And that might work for your company, but again, I think that's usually in my experience where, and I've done it, so I know how not to do it. But if you do that's really where I think the outside perspective, you do have to have your strategy, know what you're doing, but the outside perspective is really what pushes you to say, have you thought of it doing this way? And usually there's a process where you collaborate in the middle, but just be careful not digitizing a bad process, because then you're going to have the same problem just down the road.